Hi, I'm Brianna Joseph with Nevada Public Radio, and this is Ask Hugh, our financial literacy series hosted by Hugh Anderson of Hightower, Las Vegas. Welcome, Hugh.
How are you today, Brianna?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Wonderful, thank you.
So, today, Hugh, we're going to be talking about insurance and how to prepare for unexpected financial risks in the future. But insurance is kind of a complicated topic and it's often overlooked when it comes to wealth management. Can you tell me how insurance fits in with financial planning?
There is no plan without insurance, quite frankly, Brianna, because the reality is that most people tend to buy insurance from someone who approaches them to sell it to them, and it sounds like a good idea at the time, but there's never, for many people, no coordination in their insurance. And so when you have a sound financial plan, then the reality is you have to have just like you have a stock portfolio and you have savings, you have to have a risk portfolio. And what is a risk portfolio? Well, it's all the risks to your plan that you could encounter. So me sitting behind this desk, the risk to my physical being is very low unless the ceiling falls in over my head, and this is a good building, so I'm not expecting it. But if I'm a police officer or a firefighter and they're going into fires in dangerous situations, their risk profile is completely different. So for most of us, we readily, because the law requires it, we have auto insurance. We also tend to have disability insurance if it's provided by our employers. Then, of course, there's health insurance. A lot of people can't afford it, but other people, with all the new laws and products out there, many people have been able to at least get some health insurance coverage, and we can talk about the merits of that. Then there's, like I said, life insurance, where people are usually befuddled on when they should have life insurance, how much should they have, and so forth, and we'll talk about that in a minute. And then, of course, there's long-term care insurance, and that's a very big issue for many people in their elder old age. As they become infirmed, how will they pay the bills if they need care either in their home or in a licensed care facility?
Well, you just listed off a bunch of different types of insurance, but with so many options, how do I know where to start with insurance? What should I have first?
Well, the first order of business is if you have a vehicle, it's by law you have to have auto insurance. So be a good consumer like you are with everything else, whether you're buying clothes or groceries or what have you. Shop for the insurance and don't just buy one and forget about it. Consistently review your insurance policy, the kind of vehicle you drive, and make sure you have the proper coverages and you're getting the best bang for the buck and the premiums you're paying. And if you're a good driver, make sure you keep getting the best discounts possible. Then, of course, disability. People aren't aware that the odds of becoming prematurely disabled are far higher than premature death. So a 20 or a 30-year-old isn't thinking about being disabled, but if you got in a car accident or a snowboarding accident, that's something of major consideration. Many employers provide disability insurance via the ability to participate either through payroll deduction or what have you, and those plans are usually fairly cost effective. As someone progresses in their careers and they start making more money and have more financial obligations, then they may have to consider going and getting additional disability insurance. The third tier is life insurance. Now, for a young person who doesn't have any financial obligations, such as a mortgage or a family and so forth, life insurance may not be something that's very important right now. But once those other obligations begin to build up, then life insurance becomes critical, especially if you have a mortgage that someone else would be responsible for should you pass away, and if you have responsibilities to family members like children or siblings or parents, then if you were to pass away prematurely, having those insurance proceeds to be able to pay the bills that you planned on paying if you were around anyway has to be in place.
So you're saying even though I don't necessarily have these financial obligations and I'm not in the place in my life where I would think about life insurance or disability insurance, you're saying I should have them just in case, and that's planning for my future?
Well, you should be aware of them just in case, meaning that you may not necessarily want to make the purchase right now, But my goal and our goal in our practice is to make sure that all of our clients understand the pros and cons of each decision or no decision that they make. Meaning that, should I buy life insurance now as a young 20-something who doesn't have all these obligations? Possibly, because there are different types of life insurance. There's a thing called term insurance, which is very similar to your auto insurance. You don't want to have to put in a claim for your auto insurance. You don't want to have a car accident, but you have it just in case. Well, that's what term insurance is. It's there. If you pass away, it pays off. But if you don't pass away, it expires at some point in the future. That's a very inexpensive way to have insurance. And it's considered one of the best ways because it's so cost effective. But there are other insurance vehicles for people who want to use insurance and the benefits of insurance to build up wealth inside an insurance contract. They can get fairly complicated for most people, but many times for some people who don't save well for themselves, they'll pay their rent, they'll pay their utilities, they'll pay their auto insurance, and if they had another insurance bill, they'll pay that religiously, and that could be a way for them to save. But for other people who are more disciplined about saving for themselves, there could be other more cost-effective ways to save.
So you're saying insurance can also be risk management, but it can be a way to save as well?
Exactly. As insurance professionals approach potential clients and so forth, the critical thing is that they will lay out these different alternative types of policies, and some policies invest in one is called a whole life policy, where if you're investing with a very, very big reputable insurance company, part of your premium covers the life insurance portion, and then part of your premium gets invested with that insurance company in their commercial buildings and all the other investments that the insurance company makes. So those dollars are getting invested side by side. And over many, many years, you can build up some equity that way. There are other policies that have mutual funds in them where you can invest in certain different ways. So there are numerous ways to do it. They can tend to be very complicated, as I said. They can tend to be more expensive than traditional investing. So what we encourage people to do is, before you buy a policy, because it sounds good, make sure you read what the policy is offering and how much it's costing, and is it serving the purpose that you intended it to serve.
And as I go through life, I know that what my life looks like right now as a 20-year-old will not look the same in the next 10 or 15 years. So how should my insurance change as my career and living situations change?
Well, many people don't have a clear visibility of what the future holds, but one of the things about insurance is the younger you buy it, the cheaper it is, because obviously the insurance company actuarial assumptions assume you're going to be around for a good long time, and that's great. So if you know, or it's in your plan to have a family and a house and all the other obligations that will build up over time, then it may make sense at some point in the next few years to start putting insurance into your financial plan. And the key will be term insurance. Most term insurances expire in 30 years or less, so that may or may not be a viable option. Whole life and other types of policies are what are considered permanent insurance, and if you said, I would like that insurance to be there throughout my life, then that could be a policy you consider. So everything is a function of the plan, and as you keep hearing, I keep using the word plan, you have to have that blueprint to start to make sure you can make these sound decisions, because insurance may not be the right conclusion before we address other things like personal savings, sufficient personal savings to meet emergencies and things like that. So that's why planning is so critical, because there's only so many dollars that people can invest in different things.
And with my financial plan, what are the risks of being underinsured?
Oh, they're severe. We've all heard over the last many years how people who didn't have health insurance had to file bankruptcy because the bills were so large. Anybody who has gone to an emergency room or anything and seen that bill, it will make you faint even if you have insurance. Now, That's a whole different topic of discussion, and I'm no medical billing expert, but I've read enough about it to understand that there's sticker price and then there's what's actually paid. But the reality is that not having insurance can be a financially devastating situation. So someone who has a car, anybody who has had a car in the past and they still owed money on the car, had a car accident, and then find out after the fact that the car was totaled, but they owed more on the car than it was worth. Now they have to pay that difference. Certain insurance policies will cover the shortfall. So it's all a function of what risk you're willing to take on yourself versus spreading it around via an insurance company.
Well, thank you, Hugh, for that information and a rundown of what can be a complicated topic of insurance. And thank you to our viewers. This has been another episode of Ask Hugh, our financial literacy series at Nevada Public Radio, hosted by Hugh Anderson of Hightower, Las Vegas. If you have a question you'd like to ask Hugh, you can go to knpr.org/askhugh and click on the link, or you can send an email to askhugh@knpr.org. We hope you join us for our next episode where we will explore more topics in financial literacy. Thank you.